Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast. Ozcast. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
This podcast is proudly brought to you by Red Mill Bakery, Adelaide's finest bakery in Ethelston and Hectorville. Movisoft Trailer Hire, quality trailers, trucks, utes, mowers and more for hire across Australia. Enphase, the world's leading and safest solar inverter manufacturer. Aussie Carts, Adelaide's only electric hire cart facility. Matt Hall DR Kart South Australia, TD Racing, Patrizzi Course and Radio Italai Uno 87.6 FM, the station powering Negative Camber, the motorsport show.
By being a racing driver means you are racing with other people. And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver. I race designed to win.
It's time for Negative Camber.
Down the inside, Hamilton sees him coming. It's a late lunge by Verstappen, who takes the lead of the race.
If it's motorsport you want, then this is the place to be. All of the latest results, analysis and interviews.
And a great start for car number 11. D'Alberto's got away beautifully at the start of the great race.
Right now on Radio Italai Uno 87.6. And now it's time to introduce your hosts, Jamie Lemure and Leigh Harrison.
Hello everyone and welcome to Negative Camber, the motorsport show, proudly supporting Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide. I'm your host, Jamie Lemure, and alongside me, fresh from the racetrack, is my good friend, the Dark Knight, Mr. Leigh Harrison.
Good evening, mate. You're looking a bit like the Dark Knight tonight, I must say.
Mate, I'm really, really down, to be honest with you. So to get myself up on this show, I've had a couple of espressos and a teaspoon of hardened, you know what up.
And a teaspoon of cement.
Yeah. But no, I've still sort of getting the side effects of COVID, which is why we weren't here last week. So it's on me. But I also ended up getting some sort of conjunctivitis over the course of the week as well. So I can't really see all that well. So I'm doing my very best to look like Roy Orbison. I've brought him back from the dead, so I'm in here with my sunnies on looking at you because your performance on the weekend and last weekend shone so brightly that I look at you and I'm full of glare, so I need to wear these in order to look at you in your eyes.
Yeah, look, I had a couple of good weekends, so I can understand that there's some radiation coming off me, but I didn't think it was sunglasses worthy.
Your wife always said you were hot.
Very, very rock starish in this studio tonight, and the lights are bright, so, you know.
Oh. Man, it's I wouldn't wish this upon anyone. Like personally, I was really down over the course of the week, just really frustrated, and now just the constant pain in my eyes, especially because I suffer from a eye disease anyway. So it's keratoconus, where your eyeball is not a perfect round type of shape. So vision for me is difficult at best of times. Hence why I've always got to wear permanent glasses, and so my left eye is actually the one that does all the work. My right eye is just redundant. It's just a mess of blur. And it's actually my left eye that's actually affected. So I just in a lot of pain and I can't see well. It's really frustrating. And apparently it's actually this sort of run of COVID, eye disease or like bacterial infections and stuff like that are actually part of the course. So yeah, which was, you learn something new every day. But when you're laying in bed all day, you can certainly do a lot of Google research as well.
Absolutely. And if that right eye's redundant, have you thought about having it removed? Like, it's an extra few hundred grams. It's a couple of tenths on the racetrack.
My wife still looks at my eyes, Harrison. And so therefore, whilst I have the opportunity to look at her and it's still useful, I will keep it in there. But outside of that, no. So over the course of the day and tonight, I expect you to carry me on your back, all 100 kilos of me, and just carry me home, boy. Give me some pep.
I feel like you've got hopes and dreams on with your sunglasses tonight, and my tiredness levels after the week that we've had is unreal. So anyway, we'll get through it. We do what we do, and we've had an extra week to prepare, so I'm sure we're going to be awesome.
Yes, well, I've saved the best till last tonight. I've managed to dig into my suitcase full of courage and come up with a couple of blinders. So
I thought you were going to surprise me by saying we're not doing Jamie's jokes, and that would have been saving the best for last.
I warned you. I warned you. Everything else, I've been ill-prepared. I'll probably be lucky if I can read my notes. But the jokes, I will get myself up for.
Nice.
Something
for everyone to listen to or look forward to later in the show.
Now, out with it. So the Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide had their 200-lap endurance race at Pro Karts Praca last weekend, which was the day after I found out it came down with COVID. And I was firstly stunned at the turnout. We had just about a near capacity grid, 18 karts or 36 drivers, I think, which was extraordinary, really, considering at one point we were going to be up against it to get a full grid, given the long weekend and that sort of thing. But mate, I've seen snippets of videos, I've heard stories about kart swaps, so now I'll leave the floor to you and you need to tell me what happened.
Yeah, it was a really good day. Obviously, a long race, 200 laps. We had a real good field, like you said, 18 karts, and it was really close. Like, I was very surprised at how well some of the newer teams did. I think a lot of the drivers came and did a lot of the Tuesday night social racing as well, so the field was very, very competitive. Unfortunately for myself and my ring-in partner, Biscuits, who had to fill in for my mum because she took on the role of event organiser in your absence.
She did a cracking job too.
A stellar job.
Great job.
We picked a dud go-kart out of the hat, which it can be done. Picked a good starting position. We started off 4th, but by the end of lap 1, I had tumbled well down the order and was last. So
who started? You?
I started, yes. I started, and we just go-kart had no mid-range, so It was a dud off the line. It drove okay, like handled well, but just the engine was down on power everywhere, basically. So I just got shunted pillar to post on the first lap because I was a bit of a sitting duck. Persevered through the first stint, got lapped by at least first place, and then I let Biscuits persevere on with stint number 2, and then sort of requested that we have another go-kart because it was just abysmal. We were over a second off the pace of the leaders, and that just wasn't sort of where we deserved to be. We swapped a go-kart out. We had a go-kart with a cracked seat brace, so turned left really well. Every time we turned right, it sort of wanted to lay over on its left wheels a little bit, but persevered through that. We became one of the quickest karts on the track after that, and then fought our way back. So I think we were a lap and a half down at lap 50 in about 7th place, and then maybe about lap 100. Lap 100, halfway through the race, we were a lap and a half down in 7th, and on lap 200 we ended up 20 seconds off the lead and in 2nd place. So both put our heads down. We had some really good speedy pit stops. The driver changes were really good, and made our way through. But Cody and his teammate Liam drove faultlessly, and Cody's a strong driver, so it was always going to be hard to catch up with them.
You proved that today too at Southern Go-Kart Club, I read. But mate, I had to laugh because El Biscotti sent me some images of your dialogue between the two of you during stints. Champagne. Absolutely fantastic. Now I know how the secrets of your lines of communication work.
Yeah.
I need to pack an iWatch in the next time I race.
Yeah, we both had our smartwatches on, so the bantering backwards and forwards while we're racing, excuse me, we just have enough time just to have a quick cheeky look at the watch. So it's about picking your time to send the message as well, so it doesn't get lost. But it was good fun. Just sort of kept his head down and told him to get the hell on with it. So try not to get stuck. A couple more halts in traffic for Cody's co-driver, and it probably would have been a good race. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, to come back from where you did, was still pretty solid effort. So,
like I said, we ended up being maybe the second fastest or one of the fastest karts, but the top 11 teams, I think, if you look at the overall results, the best lap time of all of those karts, the top 11 or 12, were all within sort of the same 0.3 of a second of each other. So it goes to show, A, the competitiveness of the field, B, the competitiveness of the majority of the go-karts there at Pro Karts. And, it was just the driving standard was good. I wouldn't say it was great. There's definitely some guys out there that let the moment get to them.
Yep.
But yeah, that can be expected at a hire kart championship.
Exactly right. Look, at the end of the day, it was a public event. It was opened up to not only members but also Pro Kart patrons. And with a field of that size, you're going to expect some level of disparity. But from all reports, it ran really smoothly. And credit to Pro Karts and your mum, especially Chris LaRocca as well, for running the event in my absence. Looked like it didn't miss a beat. So from all reports,
like I said, like that level of karts as well, 18 karts on the track. There was always someone to pass, and it was just good fun. Like there was just a kart everywhere. Everywhere you turned, there was another go kart, and it was just good fun. So.
I saw some really funny footage of there was a puddle. So they've changed the back half of the circuit from what I've seen. It used to be that sort of quick left right S's, and now it's a 90-degree right hander. And there was a puddle that was on the far right of the track, and the drivers would hit it, and all of a sudden they all start skiddling off into the wall on the outside.
Yeah,
that was actually quite funny. So especially because none of them learnt.
No, I was late in the second stint of the race, where it was just almost dried up enough on the race line when I got back in at lap 100 that if we were half off the line, we were in it. So the first couple of laps where I was chasing Cody quite hard out of the pits, me and him both got into it, and we both understeered into the tyres and smashed into each other. So it even caught me and Cody out, which was quite funny. But they've definitely done a good job with the track layout there. They've left it well, where they've got a couple of options. They can make those corners that you speak of a little bit more open for general public, and then they can use that as a bit of a tightening section so that you can have a bit more of a pro track and make some more passes.
No, credit to Cody and the team there. They've done a good job of turning the place around and bringing it up to spec as well. So I will catch up with Cody over the next few days once I'm in a condition that I can actually drive on the road. That'd be nice to make my way down there. So yes, and I do believe the Sprintmaster made its debut today.
Long awaited, yep.
About time.
It made its 4-stroke debut. Obviously it got a run at the City of Adelaide with Nick, but yeah, we pulled it out. We went and ran in the motor on Monday and felt quite okay, and thought we'd have a stab at the Southern Winter Classic today, and entered late in the week. Decided to race lights, 20 kilos overweight, and didn't do too bad. So yeah, quite happy with the result.
Didn't do too bad. Come on, man.
I was all right.
Come on, man.
You always look for better.
If I was a medium or I was a heavy, I'd be petrified with the times that you're putting out there. No, let's put it on the line, man. I've got all this energy stored up. I'm ready. Come on, man. That was awesome.
Look, you can always hunt for more. If you think that today was perfect, then you got to have a look. But yeah, there was some dialogue tonight, and we've got a few more things to try. So yeah, we might enter Festival State Cup and have a go in mediums, but all things are pointing in positive directions for the future with that kart. It was on rails on Monday as well, which was good for a practice day, and was awesome in the damp Heat 1 today. So yeah, it showed that the kart
was actually wet. You ventured out in the wet.
I wouldn't say it was wet. It was damp.
Yeah,
it didn't rain enough that even slicks would have been thought of. And it was pretty well. It was greasy for 3 laps, and then we were back on the race line. But the thing shot out of the gate pretty quick, and it was a good fast kart, and then it was good. Yeah, just need to get a couple more tenths, and I could have competed with the lights. But like I said, we've got some things to try, and we'll look forward to trying them at Monado in a couple of weeks' time for Festival State Cup, hopefully.
2 quick questions before we go on to our first break. Question 1: who had the biggest smile, you, Nick, or John?
I don't think that you could compare. I mean, probably me, because I got to drive the thing, and it's a pretty big pleasure to drive something that handles that good and looks that good. But I think Nick and John were pretty proud seeing it go around the track so fast. Yeah, no, fair call. And what nose cone did you run? The wedge tail or the actual? Did you go NA3? No, so the nose cone was the normal one. The wedge tail. Yeah, and then we still kept that Dicky nose cone on a NASA panel that Nick loves so much. The Scarface nose, as people were calling it today. So Nick, come on, man. He credit to him. He did order a new NASA panel, but it didn't get sent. So I'll blame the supply chain. Yeah, we got all the other plastics, but all good. Good. Well, we're off to a flying start, Harold.
So we are off to our first break. We'll come back and we'll talk Australian Karting Championship and the results of today's meet at the Southern Go-Kart Club.
Sarah Restaurant, a family-operated business that has been welcoming customers for over 50 years. Spoil yourself to the finest Italian cuisine with impeccable service from Larry and the team. Complement your meal with a magnificent wine from their impressive selection. Famous for their boglietti, their handmade pasta with crab and prawns, their tripe, ossobuco, and local calamari. And then there's their specialty, the veal cooked to your liking. Buonasera Restaurant, 295 Glen Osmond Road, Glenunga. Call 8379 5647 to book.
Radio Italia Uno vi invita a partecipare numerosi all'apertura di Radioton che si terrà sabato 23 luglio presso il Molinara Association Sport Club a 58 Lions Road, Windsor Garden. Il costo del biglietto d'ingresso è di $55 a persona e include una cena di 3 portate più dolce e caffè. Le bevande sono ottenibili al bar. In programma anche uno spettacolo dal vivo. Inoltre potrete incontrare i presentatori di Radio Italia Uno.
I biglietti si possono acquistare telefonando alla segreteria di Radio Italia 1 all'8212-3177, al Molinara Club all'82614618 oppure qualsiasi membro del comitato. Radioton di Radio Italia 1 avrà inizio sabato sera 23 luglio al Molinara Association Sport Club a Windsor Garden. Non mancate, vi aspettiamo.
Continuate a sostenere Radio Italia 1, la vostra radio del cuore.
A modo mio, ogni martedì mattina dalle 7 alle 10 con Vincenzo Rullo solo su Radio Italia 1 87.6 FM.
From the fields up north
to the ocean's west.
We comb the land for the food that's best.
Taste buds to tickle, a whole state to feed.
Homegrown goodness, that's what we need.
Everyday low prices, any time of year. Here you go.
Thanks. Trust the mighty South Aussies.
Great food lives here. Foodland, the mighty South Aussies, yeah.
This week's specials at Foodland. Men's fruit chocks, 150 grams. Chock full of value, just $2.50. Campbell's Real Stock, 1 litre. A really good deal, only $2. And Campbell's Country Ladle with bone broth soup, 505 grams. A super special, also $2. All half price. Till June 21st, while stocks last.
Great food lives here. Foodland, the mighty South Aussies, yeah.
Radio Italia 1.
You're listening to Negative Camber with Jamie and Leigh on Radio Italia Uno 87.6 FM.
Welcome back to Negative Camber, the motorsport show, proudly supporting Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide. The time now is just after 7:20 and we're about to enter into our karting segment of the show. Firstly, I want to give a special shout out to our producer Mark Aston for the iMusic prior to us leaving the break. I have a funny feeling that I'm going to be copying jokes like this all night, but that's okay. These broad shoulders can carry the weight.
And they are broad shoulders.
They are broad shoulders.
I feel like he needs to have brought up some like ruby eyes or something like that, because that's the colour of your eye, not ebony.
You know what? Why don't you just play Hungry Eyes while you're at it? Oh, we'll kick a man while he's down.
Guess what I've got coming up next?
We could just pause.
Callum Scott, Sore Eyes.
Yeah.
We just pause the show here and just play eye music for the rest of the night.
Exactly. There'll be some black eyes in a minute. Anyway, Before we get on to the AKC roundup, I'm going to throw you under the bus, Mr. Harrison.
Sure.
And you're going to run through the results of today's race at the Southern Go-Kart Club.
Yeah, sure. So we had the Winter Sprint Classic at Bolivar Southern Go-Kart Club today. Small turnout. Can be expected with it, cold weather and, people hanging out like I did to see if it was going to rain or not before entering. But all in all, a good meeting, ran pretty well to time and no major headaches to speak of. But running through the results in KA4 Junior Light, we had Salvatore Imbrogno and Giuseppe Imbrogno first and second, Samuel Spiteri in third, and in 4SS Junior, Edward McEwen took the win there. KA3 Junior, we had Luca Polombero take the win from
Adelaide member.
Salvatore Imbrogno and Alessio Verrecchio. Cadet 9, 12 and 4SS. Desmond Harold took the win in in Cadet 12 from Dominic Bicuri and Scarlett Pidham, so a good result there for Scarlett, making up some time in over the recent months. She's doing really well. And in 4SS, Alexander Velanas was the sole participant there. He was flying as well. Like I made a comment a couple of times that Cadet 4SS was on absolute rails. Looked almost as fast as the Cadet 12s through the sweeper. It was really mind-boggling. So good job to them. They've got that kart worked out.
It was actually setting times just as quick if you actually look. That was incredible.
It was crazy. Like super, super fast. I'm just reading out the results of the final here. It was an all-points count meeting, but it'll be pretty close. In the final of Tag 125 Restricted Light, Cody Price from rear of field took the win in that class.
So Cody's come from the rear of the field.
Yeah.
Cody from Pro Karts Pro.
Cody Price, yep.
Wow, there you go.
So they started the first race off of P2 and then had to start from the rear for the rest of the weekend or for the rest of the day being on their P plates, and he's won that race. He was phenomenal. He was flying all day.
And he did 200 laps of high karts the week before. And people say that high karts and normal
he
karts...
hasn't driven in... I was trying to work out how long it's been since Cody had driven a race kart in anger, and I think it's been at least as long as maybe 6-7 years. So, I mean, hire karts are definitely a good way to keep your eye in, but I sent him a message earlier on in the week that it is just like riding a bike, and after you've done it for 10 years or so, it doesn't take long to find that rhythm again. So he took the win in the final from Ben Press and Josh Elliston. In KA3 Senior, it was Nicky Watson from Leo Varelli and Keo Fechner. Tag Restricted Medium, we had Paul Pidham taking the win there from Simon Major and Andrew Gunn.
Pretty convincing.
Paul was on fire, as you would expect in that class.
Who got third?
Andrew Gunn, was it? Or Andrew Chapman, maybe?
Andrew Chapman.
Andrew Chapman, sorry about that, Andrew. And in 4SS Senior, in Senior Light, Anthony Ormsby won from myself and Nick Torquati. Nick and I had a pretty good dice in the last race. It was quite enjoyable.
Was he racing the Briggs or was he racing the Torini?
I can't remember. I'm sure he had the Torini on, actually. David Skinner took out heavies and Mark Sanford took out mediums. So they are the results from the Winter Classic today.
Yeah, very disappointing turnout for the four strokes again for the Southerns meet. Unfortunately, I mean, a few of us had some excuses, like with illness and that sort of thing. But, I kind of expected a few more.
I said it's just that time of year, though, but it's cold. It was absolutely freezing down there today. Everyone was making mention of it, and it's kind of hard. You kind of got to try and plan your life around what races are important. And I only raced, I had the spare time and could manage it out there. And if it looked like it was going to be bucketing down with rain today, I probably wouldn't have entered myself as well. So, you've got to put your life on hold for a little bit, and it can be hard to do. So let's look forward to Festival State Cup and not dwell too much on what happened today.
Yeah, that'll be a genuine 2-day meet at Bernardo. And I say genuine because it's actually going to be held on the shortest day of the year. And so light is going to be an issue, and so therefore they've had to spread that race meeting out over the course of 2 full days, which, if we go back a few episodes, the prophets known as Negative Camber actually called for a 2-day race meet, so it'll be a good experiment to see, 1, what numbers they get, and 2, how that actually pans out.
It's such far, it's just a long way to go. Start to look for accommodation in and around the area. It's an hour drive there, an hour drive back each day. It's 2 hours on the car. You don't want to be leaving home at 5 o'clock in the morning to make gates for 6, so you're on track at 7. So hopefully the timetable works out nicely and it's not too much of an early morning.
Yeah, I think they'll probably do some practice for maybe the first portion of the day on Saturday just to give people time to set up and stuff like that. Then I would imagine that racing would probably start sort of mid to late afternoon, and then the majority of the heats would be held on the Sunday anyway. So, we'll see. Maybe with the way... I might get my sight by then.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, well, I can't even see them. Everything's all blurry. But speaking of blur, it only seemed like a couple of weeks ago that we had the AKC Round 3 at the Hume Highway Raceway, also known as Puckapunyal. Puckapunyal.
Yep.
And from all reports, it was incredibly wet.
Freezing cold.
To a point where even Karting Australia had made comment of that was probably the most challenging meet they've ever had to run. There were some pretty horrifying images of carts flipping and bits and pieces again, but largely due to weather and accidents and that type of thing. But some of the photos that I'd seen of just how hard the carts were having to work in the wet, you can almost feel yourself twisting along with the chassis at the same time as well. But now, from some surprise results, which kind of threw the championship up a little bit for respective titles, but overall, not too surprising in some cases as well.
Yeah, look, it always throws a spanner in the works there at Puckapunyal, and a crazy time to have an event there in middle of country Victoria. The wet weather always brings a bit more of an even playing field across the field, and the true drivers get to the front. So, I would have liked to have gone, but circumstances didn't allow for the time off. But, one of my favourite tracks.
Yeah, I'd like to have a crack at it one day. But maybe we'll see Vic Country Series or something like that next year. But let's run through the results very quickly. So we'll start with Cadet 9, and first place was Jensen Damaschino. Second was Carter Lampard. Third was Cruz Kelly. Fourth, Sam Sidwell. And fifth was Oscar Haddon. In Cadet 12, we had Riley Harrison coming home first. Connor Mayer in second. Luis Cucina in third. Single of that because Cucina is actually a kitchen in Italian. So he's cooking up a storm, young Lewis. Jack Bartlett was fourth, and Boston Gillanders in fifth. In KA4 Junior, we had William Thompson in first, Ben Munro in second, Brody Norris in third. We had Jack Booten in fourth, and Luke Trost in fifth. In KA3 Senior, we had Jordan Shalala in first. We had Benito Linspettore Montalbano in second. We had Jace Matthews in third, Alex Ninovich in fourth, and Joel McPherson in fifth. In Tag 125, we had Lee Nicolau come in first. Second, Matthew Hill. Third, Thomas Gallagher. Fourth was Jake Spencer, and fifth was Troy Alger. And then in X30, we had Bradley Jenner come home in first, Jackson Suzlin Harlow in second, Tyler Howard in third, Jace Matthews in fourth, and Jacob Dowson in fifth. In KA2, we had Jake Rutkowski in first, Costa Taparis in second, Jet Kokoski in third, Peter Buzan-Yelos in fourth, and Toby Dvorak in fifth. And in KZ2, we had Sam Dicker come home in first, followed by James Golding in second, Zach Zambronio, a great drive from the rear of the grid to third in the wet. We had number 4 was Jake Clarich, and then fifth was Jay Cool. So, did you know that in the top 5 of KZ2, we had 2 Paralins, we had a Ricciardo, an Energy, and a Willpower Kart rounding up the top 5. So, once again, another round where the Willpower Kart / Kart Republic comes out on top in all weather conditions.
Yeah, and one for the locals as well. A lot of guys that spend a lot of time practicing there on top of the timesheets, and it's one of those tracks where inside knowledge definitely helps, and home track advantage can be a thing. So, a few surprise names on top of the lists in some of those classes, but again, some of the stalwarts of Victorian karting, your Brad Jenners, your Matt Walls, and your Lee Nicolaus storming to the front in those trying conditions at a track that favours a little bit of home track knowledge.
Yeah, so round 4 will be up a little bit later. I know they've opened up entries for that, and they'll probably start to sell that out very, very quickly. If not, I think some of the grids are already at capacity.
It's at 300. It's above 300 already, so I think 312 or something like that. So that's every round so far this year, above 300. And Emerald's a long drive, so Emerald in Queensland, and it's a long drive, and it's good to see them getting the support.
Hottest ticket in town, hey? And everyone's saying that Karting Australia events are struggling. But there you go. You put your money where your mouth is, and and the results are there for all to see. So we'll be off to a break, and then when we come back, we'll start talking Formula One.
There I was, and here I go. Some say take it, some say don't, but I wanna, like a fish out of water, but learning to fly. Here I am, you told me so, to spread my wings, don't give up hope in the darkness. When I'm in the darkness, you let me shine. No matter how long it takes, I'll see your face again one day. When I'm losing light and I need your soul to rest. Oh, when my love is blind and I need some kind of sign. You're a sight for my soul eyes.
When you hear the name Bocelli Cafe, you think an Adelaide institution, a family restaurant that's been providing the finest Italian cuisine for almost 2 decades. Coffee of the highest quality and staff that treat you like family. Spacious, COVID-safe indoor dining and a fully heated outdoor area. The kitchen is always prepared for breakfast, lunch and dinner. Parking's a dream. Bocelli Cafe Restaurant, 81 to 83 Hutt Street, Adelaide. Call them 8232 3006 to book, or follow Bocelli on Facebook and Instagram.
Sottovoce. Ogni giovedì pomeriggio dalle 2:30 alle 4:30 in compagnia di Kathy e Vincenzo.
Un programma di musica, interviste, curiosità e le ricette di nonna Pina.
E non perdetevi la mia rubrica benessere, vi aiuterà a stare meglio.
Siamo la coppia più bella del mondo.
Radio Italia Uno.
You're listening to Negative Camber with Jamie and Leigh on Radio Italia Uno 87.6 FM.
Welcome back to Negative Camber, the motorsport show, proudly supporting Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide. Thank you for those that have been sending messages at my expense with the photos that have been doing some rounds of me in the studio with the specs on, or the sunnies on. So thumbs up again to Mark for doing that. Appreciate it. But yes, I digress. We will now go off to our next segment before we hit Formula One, and that'll be Around the World. And I'll throw it over to the man that calls himself the chief executive of the laundry and also the kitchen cleaning. You can thank your wife for that one, my friend.
I'm glad she sent you that screenshot.
She sent it all.
That was a funny conversation that was had with our family. But yes, the joy of 3 weeks off for us means that there is a lot to cover in Around the World, and we'll kick off with NASCAR. We've had 3 races since the last show, with events being held in Charlotte, North Carolina, at Worldwide Technology Raceway in Madison, Illinois, and Sonoma Raceway in California. Denny Hamlin won the longest race of the NASCAR calendar in Charlotte, 600 miles around that track. So,
400. Is it 400?
No, it's 600. 600 miles.
Right.
It's the longest race in the calendar.
Yep.
Joey Logano won the inaugural race at Worldwide Technology Raceway after a late race restart battle with Kyle Busch. So these guys were going hammer and tongs over under switchback passes for the last 5 laps. It was one of the most exciting races I've seen so far in the NASCAR, and I've watched that one back a couple of times. So anyone that wants to see some NASCAR racing, go and look that particular race up.
I tell you what, when they turn it on, it's very hard to find racing better than that.
It is, and it's so door to door, and I just have huge respect for those guys at 300 kilometres an hour going door to door like that, and drafting and bump drafting, not to lose control. But it's quite a sport. Daniel Suarez became only the 5th driver in NASCAR history who was born outside of the US to win a race after dominating the final stage to bring home the win in Sonoma. That's at the old Sears Point Raceway, for anyone that has got some age behind them. It's a road course up in the Napa Valley of California there. So beautiful wine region. One day I might take my beautiful wife there and leave her at the winery while I go and watch some NASCAR racing. But for some of the history buffs out there, the other 4 drivers to have won a race after being born from outside the US, we had Mario Andretti from Italy, Earl Ross from Canada, Juan Pablo Montoya from Colombia, and Marcus Ambrose of Australia. So they're the only 5 drivers born outside the US to win a NASCAR race. Chase Elliott currently leads the standings from Ross Chastain and Kyle Busch. IndyCar as well. It's been hot and fast if you're a fan of US racing. 3 races in the IndyCar series. Had the Indy 500, biggest race on the Indy calendar. 315,000 spectators for a single day event. So it's one of the biggest events in the world every year. We had the Detroit Grand Prix and Road America. F1 driver Marcus Ericsson was victorious in the Indy 500. Scott McLaughlin unfortunately DNF'd while carving his way back through the field, and Will Power finished 15th. In Detroit, Will Power won, Scott McLaughlin finishing 19th. And at Road America, Joseph Newgarden wins that race, Will Power 19th and Scott McLaughlin 7th. So after winning the Indy 500 and a couple of good races in Detroit and Road America, Marcus Ericsson leads the championship, 27 points clear of Will Power, with Newgarden in 3rd. Scott McLaughlin has dropped to 9th in the standings, 97 points behind Ericsson.
You reckon he's taken a bit of a whoopsie at the moment with his current form over the US?
It's definitely dropped after he started off real strong. A few tracks where he's not performed at the rate that he would have liked. Definitely outperformed by a few of his Team Penske teammates, but I think the turnaround's coming, and from all accounts I think this weekend is going to be a little bit better for them. I can't think off the top of my head what track they're at this weekend, but I've been seeing that he's doing a little bit better in the times this weekend, so fingers crossed he rebounds and can start making his way up the order. But we've got to remember it is only his 2nd year in the IndyCar series, so still lots of learning to do there.
Yeah, exactly.
Formula 2 raced at Azerbaijan. Freddie Vesti and Dennis Hauger shared the wins in 2 chaotic Formula 2 races. Vesti won the sprint race after taking advantage of a restart late in the race and fighting very hard for that win. Beautiful blocking and defensive driving helping him win that event.
Saw that.
Hauger kept the pressure on Vips in a shortened feature race, Vips ultimately crashing through the castle section and handing Hauger the win. Felipe Drugovich leads that championship, 50 points clear of Theo Pourchaire, who is another 10 points clear of 3rd place Jahan Daravilla. Jack Doohan sits 9th, 87 points behind Drugovich. We also had the Le Mans 24-hour event in the hypercar class, one for our good friend Biscotti. He had 2 Japanese drivers in there, and their cars have finished 1st and 2nd. So the number 8 Toyota of Sebastian Buemi, Brendan Hartley, and Ryo Hirakawa won that race from the number 7 Toyota, Mike Conway, Kamui Kobayashi, and Juan Maria Lopez. The thing that people call me crazy for sitting up and watching this 24-hour race and how I get through it, but the strategy calls in these races are absolutely phenomenal. After 24 hours of racing, every single one of these classes was decided by less than 1 lap of distance.
That's pretty good.
Less than 13 miles of distance, or 4 minutes. So after 24 hours, it goes to show that just one small mistake can still cost you a big race.
Next year's Le Mans, when Ferrari and Peugeot and all the hypercars will start to come out, is going to be absolutely epic.
Absolutely, I can't wait. It's going to be, definitely one to watch. Third in the hypercar class this year, featured an Australian, Ryan Briscoe. They ended up 5 laps down in the first event for Glickenhaus Racing, so not a bad effort from them.
Yep.
Team Jota won LMP2 with Team Prema in second on the same lap, and that was spearheaded, that team, by Robert Kubica. GTE AM was won by the number 33 Aston Martin, followed by the 79 Porsche, again on the same lap for them. And in GTE Pro, the number 91 Porsche won that race from the number 51 Ferrari, and the number 52 Ferrari was third, only 1 lap further back. That category featured Shane van Gisbergen making his debut in the Le Mans 24-hour. They finished in 4th, a further 2 laps behind the third place getters. So I know their car struggled with a lot of engine performance and not quite as good as the factory teams. So SVG definitely didn't do any harm to his reputation over there. He was one of the quickest drivers in that car and definitely did a good stint on his first visit to Le Mans. World Rally Championship, the Rally Italia Sardegna was on. Ott Tanak took the win by 1 minute and 3 seconds over Craig Breen, with Danny Sordo in third, a further 29 seconds behind Craig Breen. Championship leader Rovanpera finished 5th. Rovanpera's lead in the championship is now down to 55 points from Thierry Neuville, with Ott Tanak 3 points behind Neuville in third. And wrapping up around the world, we had the inaugural Formula E Jakarta race, and honorary Australian Mitch Evans won that race from ex-Formula 1 driver John-Eric Verne and Eduardo Mortara. Stoffel Van Dorn currently leads the championship, 5 points ahead of Verne. Mortara a further 2 points behind in third place.
Mr. Harrison, very impressive. Very good roundup.
Well,
very, very nice.
It's been quite busy. Quite busy in the last 3 weeks. There's been lots to cast our eyes over. You got jokes later, so I'm going to get mine in now, okay?
You made my eye water.
But it's been quite good. The motorsport has not stopped on our new TV, which has been great for me.
Ah, yes, the fabled new TV. You know, your wife, she threw you out. We've got a forum, right? And I digress. I'm not talking about work and stuff, but I will. There's a forum in the internal chat team called Dad Jokes, and so all of a sudden, Shay Thayer, boom, goes up, and I read this, and I'm like, oh my god. All of Intuit saw your message, man. It was like everywhere. And I'm like, oh man, the wrong person to see that message was me, because I knew that I was going to use that material at some point in the show. But yes, keep them coming, Shay. I appreciate it. Anything that I can throw young husband under the bus, I will. It probably normally comes back at my expense in some way, shape or form anyway. But
I just hit back once with 5 times the effect, so you can have all of them on me and I'll just come at you like a spider monkey. It's funny, you won't even see me coming at the moment. So,
no, I wouldn't. I'd be blindsided. All right, so we're off to another break, and then when we come back we will actually talk about Formula 1, and we'll start first with our review of the Monaco Grand Prix.
Gonna be a ride.
You're listening to Negative Camber with Jamie and Leigh on Radio Italai Uno 87.6 FM.
Welcome back to Negative Camber, the motorsport show, proudly supporting Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide. Hope you enjoyed the song I Can See Clearly Now, as the eye jokes continue to roll through with my dear producer and general manager at the station, Mr. Mark Aston. Thank you, sir. And now we...
I can barely keep myself together over here.
Well, it's actually funny because in the break, I just got to share the story because it's at my own expense. I've walked into the men's and I've got my sunnies on. I've opened the door and it's hit me smack in the face because I can't see him walking out of the door. So I'm going to have this nice big lump on my forehead tomorrow as well. So it's just...
I'm going to search for songs with lumps on your head in it.
Shoot me now. Right. Okay, let's get serious. So on May the 27th to the 29th was the Formula One Grand Prix du Monaco. And we'll go through the top 10 results. So Sergio Perez was first, followed by Carlos Sainz in second, Max Verstappen third, Charles Leclerc fourth, George Russell in fifth, Lando Norris in sixth, Fernando Alonso in seventh, Lewis Hamilton in eighth, Valtteri Bottas in ninth, and Sebastian Vettel rounding out the top 10. Talking points, Mr. Harrison. We'll start off with Sergio Perez, and in my opinion, it was vindication after the race was robbed from him in Spain, and he now proves himself at that point to be a genuine title threat, being only 15 points off top spot.
Yeah, and he drove like a man that was out for redemption. Didn't put a foot wrong. Out-qualified Max. Ultimately, potentially because he did end up crashing in qualifying. But hey, he was in front in the first place, so he was quicker up until then. It was a faultless race. He executed when he needed to. He made the most of the overcut strategy. And then brought home a nice, clean first position. His first win in Monaco. It's always good to get a win for Monaco and for Red Bull in Monaco.
Yep.
So yeah, you can't really fault. He's definitely there. I think still Max has got race pace over him. Ultimately, I think Max struggles on the street tracks with the understeer in the front end of the Red Bull car. So Perez definitely seems to fit the street circuits a little bit nicer.
We saw that with Baku as well.
Exactly. And again, sort of, he was a little bit faster than Max at Canada as well, up until it started raining. So, yeah, look, masterful drive. He's definitely not out of the championship, but you've got to think that in that team intra-team battle, Max is still the favourite.
I'd probably go as far as saying that this is the first time in a long, long time that Red Bull have actually got two genuine drivers that are able to pick the pieces up when one of them has a whoopsie.
Yeah.
And it hasn't happened for a long time. I'd probably go as far back as saying...
The last time it happened was Ricciardo and Verstappen.
Yeah, but when they were both in contention for a title, I'd probably go as far as saying Webber and
Vettel.
Seb.
Yeah.
But no, I agree with what you're saying there too.
It's the first time that Max has been properly challenged in a title fight since getting rid of Daniel. So as we go further into the season, it's going to be interesting to see how that relationship, it's all buddy-buddy now. I'll take one, you take one. But when push comes to shove and every point seems like starts to matter, if Max has one DNF and suddenly Perez is in the title fight, it'll be interesting to see how that relationship works out. We've already, especially from Monaco, Jos Verstappen was quite vocal in saying that he doesn't think that Red Bull did everything that they could have to have helped Max win in Monaco. So there's going to be that pressure coming as well. So yeah, let's keep a close eye on that intra-team battle and relationship.
I think Jos has got to take a deep breath and take a step back and rewatch the race and ask himself the question: how would Red Bull going to elevate Max 2 positions up without causing an absolute of a storm, right, to not only jump Carlos, but then obviously to jump Sergio Perez as well. It's like, take the blinkers off, Chief. I know he's your son, but, let's use our heads a bit here too. It's a long championship as well.
Absolutely.
So Ferrari, my God. If there's ever... I'm surprised I didn't get COVID watching them after Monaco with this. It's hard to be... Like, you could be critical in the respect that Carlos made a good decision tactically. He got dudded by being in lap traffic, but if there was one that would probably felt cheated by it all, would have been Charles.
But Charles got held up in lap traffic as well. Sainz was stuck behind Latifi on the crucial lap when he needed to make a pit stop. As soon as Charles came out of the pits, he was stuck behind Albon for nearly a whole lap as well. So I don't think the blame can be squarely placed on the strategists at Ferrari. I think other circumstances were more at play than Ferrari's strategy, and unfortunately, Monaco, we've seen it 100 million times. It's hard exposed. It gets exposed, but it's also hard even for lap traffic to pass. And Albon was probably well within his right. He had just pitted for fresh slick tyres, and they were cold, and Charles was on warm intermediates. So Albon was probably going to pull away from Charles. So it was probably in both Charles and Albon's best interest that Albon stayed in front. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, those tyres didn't come up to pressure as quickly as possible. But, I don't think squarely to blame on Ferrari. It was just a misstep and unfortunate events. Yeah,
I think had there been a little bit more passing room at that circuit, I think Carlos probably would have gotten past towards the end because he had the pace. He had the tyre advantage over Sergio as well. It's just... It is what it is, at the end of the day. And look, he'd take second any day. I mean, Carlos didn't lose, nor did he gain. Like, he ended up going from... Well, he actually gained. He went from third to second. Mm-hmm. So, that you take that any day of the week, that's probably more Charles because of the fact that he's still considered at the moment to be the lead Ferrari driver in the title.
He went from pole to fourth overall as well, so he took the biggest hit out of everybody.
He finished, though. That's a first.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right.
Take that as a win.
Take that monkey off your back.
Exactly right. So, having said that, though, I would probably go as far as saying Red Bull, in terms of their recent title experiences, are probably going to have that one up on Ferrari in terms of key strategic calls. I think they've had too much recent title experience, especially with the same core engineering group, to get more right than what they will do wrong, whereas in Ferrari, on the other hand, hasn't been the case.
Yeah, they've definitely been at the pointy end of the title more consistently recently, and Ferrari returning to that top end, but people don't get into those jobs for being dumb. They're definitely not, even though they've done their best to make it look like they've pulled any monkey off the street to do the job sometimes, Ferrari.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ferrari have definitely played some smart calls. Their cars are fast. We've seen in Spain, they're actually their worst enemy at the moment, their own worst enemy with their reliability more than anything.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's exactly right. Like, and we'll touch on, obviously, Azerbaijan shortly, but there's no point talking about strategic blunders if you haven't got a car that's going to be finishing a race. And at the end of the day, that's 50 points in terms of genuine, guaranteed, almost lay down Mazir first or second that Ferrari have thrown away by pure mechanical failure, which is gifted, considering that Max was 43 points behind when they left Melbourne. There's your points differential right there without even starting.
It's not only gifted them to Red Bull as well. Excuse me. It's gifted them to Mercedes. Mercedes are still there in the constructors' title fight, and they've really been nowhere. So it's keeping Mercedes in the fight. It's putting extra unnecessary pressure on Ferrari to maintain, at a minimum, second place in the championship, which would be their absolute worst case scenario this season after their strong start and how strong their car is. If they don't become second in the Constructors' Championship and push Mercedes 3 stalls down the pit lane, that would be a massive loss of a season for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What's your take on Daniel Ricciardo, McLaren, and their struggles?
Well, Ricciardo was a bit of a donkey in the race. He became the test mule in Monaco. He was one of the first cars to go onto the hards or onto the slick tyres at the start of the race, and he was more of a what can this tyre do and will make the most of Norris, and that ultimately hurt him. He qualified in front of Norris for the first time in a long time, and like Daniel was saying, this pressure, this talking of him not doing a good enough job, he's using as fuel because he's saying, well, that just means that everybody knows that I should be doing better. So he's obviously using it to try and be the glass half full kind of mentality. It's coming. I really think it's coming. Monaco, we'll touch on Azerbaijan as well, but even so far at Canada, he's a lot closer. They're three very, very different tracks, Canada, Monaco and Azerbaijan. So I would say whatever they've done, they're starting to get on top of it. But yeah, he's got to start performing more consistently and at least pushing Lando.
Yeah, and as well as obviously Canada overnight too, soaking wet conditions. I'm actually surprised they let the cars run, considering what sort of wet track they gave them in Monaco.
Yeah.
I think to some extent Danny Rick was a sacrificial lamb, and then it gets exposed even further with the way Monaco is. So Aston Martin, I thought, have certainly turned the corner with that new aerodynamic package of theirs. They've really started to, especially Seb, on the up. Seb
is making it work. Stroll not so much. But again, they just need to get the front of the car to talk to the middle of the car, and they'll be a bit more dangerous. Like I said, Seb's definitely making the most of it without getting too far in front. He had a much better race in Azerbaijan than Stroll did. And the weather, he's a bit of a gnarly track specialist. You look at Canada, you look at Monaco, all tracks that he always does really well at. Even with a struggling Ferrari, he was on for a race win 3 years ago. So he's always there or thereabouts. But yeah, that midfield battle is very intriguing. It seems from week to week it changes who the fastest car is, and you put Mercedes in that battle as well.
Haas as well.
Haas, when they decide to turn up, they are thereabouts. And even Williams, with Albon at the wheel, he's got the potential to spring a few surprises as well. So that midfield battle is super, super intriguing, and it's one that's almost worth paying more attention to than the battle at the front of the field.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when Ferrari shoot themselves in the foot again. We'll be off to a break, and then when we come back, we'll continue with our review of Formula One, and we talk Azerbaijan.
Now here's our general ward. This is where we keep our mix stations.
Now this cat suffers from operatic tendencies, like to sing opera on the back fences.
Mo! I can't see!
What's the matter?
I got my eyes closed.
There you are.
Radio Italia Uno.
Sono le 20.
Italia Uno News. Buona domenica e ben trovati dalla redazione.
L'Ucraina non cederà i suoi territori del sud a nessuno, lo ha detto il presidente dell'Ucraina Zelensky in un messaggio postato sul suo canale Telegram al ritorno dal suo viaggio nelle regioni di Mykolaiv e Odessa. Durante la visita Zelensky ha parlato con le autorità locali, militari, medici, le guardie nazionali e la polizia. Il presidente ha affermato che coloro che stanno difendendo il sud del paese hanno uno stato d'animo fiducioso. Ai loro occhi non c'è dubbio sulla vittoria dell'Ucraina nei confronti degli occupanti russi.
E alto là del Movimento 5 Stelle al premier Mario Draghi sull'invio di nuove armi a Kiev. Si impegna il governo a non procedere, stante l'attuale quadro bellico in atto, a ulteriori invii di armamenti che metterebbero a rischio una de-escalation del conflitto, pregiudicandone una soluzione diplomatica. Si legge nella bozza di una risoluzione che i senatori del movimento stanno preparando in vista del voto di martedì, dopo le comunicazioni del Presidente del Consiglio sul Consiglio europeo del 23 e del 24 giugno sull'Ucraina. Altri impegni sollecitati al governo riguardano il cessate il fuoco e il sostegno al popolo ucraino.
Una donna di 38 anni, Donatella Miccoli, è stata uccisa con una coltellata da suo marito, che al momento è ricercato. L'omicidio è avvenuto poco prima delle 2 di notte nell'abitazione della coppia a Novoli, in provincia di Lecce. In casa i figli non c'erano perché sarebbero stati portati precedentemente dalla nonna. Sul caso indagano i carabinieri.
Nel dare un annuncio molto doloroso ai suoi affezionati ammiratori, Giovanni Allevi sceglie le note note della sua amatissima musica. Con una foto in cui cerca di tradurre in note la parola mieloma, il 53enne pianista e compositore marchigiano spiega di aver scoperto di avere un tumore. Non ci girerò intorno, ho scoperto, scrive sui social, di avere una neoplasia dal suono dolce, mieloma, ma non per questo meno insidiosa. Sono tantissimi i messaggi di affetto e solidarietà corredati da cuori, fiori e note musicali che stanno inondando la rete.
Secondo turno delle legislative in Francia, oggi per rinnovare i 577 deputati dell'Assemblea nazionale. Sarà eletto chi ottiene il maggior numero di voti. A parità di preferenze passa il più anziano. Secondo gli ultimi sondaggi l'elezione sarà un testa a testa tra la maggioranza presidenziale Semblé e la nuova Unione Popolare Ecologista e Sociale guidata dalla sinistra di Mélenchon. Al primo turno il 52,49% dei francesi aveva scelto di non votare, le maggiori astensioni tra i 18 e 24 anni.
Pole position annunciata di Francesco Bagnaia al Sachsenring. Il ducatista è sceso ancora una volta sotto il muro degli 80 secondi, staccando di 76 millesimi Fabio Quartararo, che si annuncia un avversario durissimo per la gara. Completa la prima fila Joan Zarco con la Ducati Pramac, dalla seconda fila scatteranno Alex Espargaró con l'Aprilia, un sorprendente Fabio Di Giannantonio con la Ducati Gresini e Jack Miller. Per lui long lap penalty in gara per essere caduto il regime di bandiere gialle nell'FP4. Dalla terza due Ducati, quelle di Luca Marini e Jorge Martin, e l'altra Aprilia di Maverick Viñales, staccato di 537 millesimi da Bagnaia.
Per ora è tutto, a più tardi.
You're listening to Negative Camber with Jamie and Leigh on Radio Italai Uno 87.6 FM.
Welcome back to Negative Camber, the motorsport show, proudly supporting Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide. We've gone just a little bit past 8 o'clock, and last week Formula One staged their second of three races, I think, or first of three, which was the Formula One Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and these are some of the highlights.
It's the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in 2022, and it's lights out and away we go, and Charles Leclerc gets away well, as does Sergio Perez, and he's coming right at him now, as into turn one, Leclerc locks up, Perez goes into the lead, Verstappen holds off Carlos Sainz, and it's Sergio Perez, winner last time out, who leads here. Verstappen thinks about a challenge on Leclerc into turn two, but then thinks against it. Perez, with a brilliant start, was told to get his elbows out. He did just that.
Sainz put a dummy on Verstappen. Verstappen looked like he was going to get the run on Leclerc, but had to defend for it, and again Sainz is having another go at Verstappen down into turn three. There's a yellow flag in sector one. Carlos Sainz looks like he stopped at turn four.
It is Carlos Sainz who stopped at turn four, and there is Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari, was running in fourth place, and he's gone on, sadly, into the runoff area at turn four. Now, has he kept the engine running?
Take by right feed. Something fake. Yeah, we'll just listen on board. Oh.
Now, is that power unit or gearbox?
I'm not so sure that's BBW. That sounded like it was power unit in some way, didn't it? Just cut out and definitely a hydraulic in some way, but it was a virtual safety car deployed.
And Charles Leclerc comes into the pits, so an immediate strategy gamble here, and an early gamble by the Ferrari team, who fit the hard tyres onto Charles Leclerc's Ferrari, and he's a little bit slow away, it has to be said. Now, you'll save yourself 10 seconds by having a pit stop behind a virtual safety car as opposed to the normal race, but he was in the pits there for about 2.5 seconds longer than you would have wanted. And Sebastian Vettel, has he got ahead of Lewis Hamilton in the pits there? I think he was...
Well, Hamilton had to queue probably behind Russell,
Exactly.
so I would say yes, he has. He's in front.
He's going to be aggressive here, and he's only got a couple of car lengths at the start of this DRS zone to try and get past that Alpine. And look how that DRS is giving Sebastian Vettel an advantage, as into turn three we go, and Sebastian Vettel was ahead but goes straight on, spins rounds, but he's definitely lost that place that he tried to get on Esteban Ocon, and he gets passed by Yuki Tsunoda as well. That could have been hero. Sadly for Vettel, it was zero. Here come the two Red Bulls, free to fight, out in front. Perez, Verstappen closing up on him. We've seen this before, haven't we? One Red Bull gaining on another. It ended in tears all those years ago, but this time around, Verstappen makes the move, makes it clean, and overtakes Sergio Perez, and into the lead of the race. Max Verstappen past Sergio Perez. It's 1-2 still for Red Bull, but the order has been swapped around. And out in front, Max Verstappen has a 7.6 second gap, and here goes Lewis Hamilton down the inside on Esteban Ocon, and it's been brewing for about 5 laps now, and finally Hamilton has managed to make the pass, and he's put himself up in the 9th place. Verstappen in the pits, here's Karun.
He should still come out ahead of Perez. Leclerc, though, should take over the lead of the Grand Prix. This is where it gets interesting, isn't it? Verstappen on a new set of hard tyres. Leclerc on hard tyres that are now 9 laps old. And what is the gap going to be?
Oh no, and now we have a blowout coming down the straight, and that is Charles Leclerc, whose teammate is out of the race, and Leclerc has an engine failure that is showering plumes of smoke onto the track, and Ferrari have a double DNF here in Baku, and it is game over for the Scuderia.
Problem, engine.
We'll come back to you.
Done. No, that's done.
It's a second retirement in 3 races for Charles Leclerc, out of this race and limping back to the pits, and boy does that change the complexion of this race. George Russell is up into 3rd, Daniel Ricciardo 4th, but for how much longer? Not any longer at all. Pierre Gasly has tucked in, shall we say, to the eventual meal, goes up into 4th, Ricciardo 5th. Here comes Sebastian Vettel, former Red Bull driver, former Red Bull world champion, trying now for Aston Martin to get up into 8th place. And he did it. And it's taken him a long, long while to get past Esteban Ocon, but now he has. And now he can try and chase after Yuki Tsunoda. As here comes Lewis Hamilton on Daniel Ricciardo. Breezes down the inside, does Lewis Hamilton on Daniel Ricciardo, and he's up into 5th place.
Oh, the DRS has broke. The rear wings broke on the back of that car.
On Yuki Tsunoda's Alpha Tauri, it's just the Alpha.
Oh,
and there it comes back again.
Oh, you can't tape a wing like that. Look at the difference.
So they're getting out with the gaffer tape.
What is this?
It's reliability. No DRS from now onwards. No DRS.
Now, has Hamilton got the speed and the pace down the main straight, or does he need to make the move into turn 3 once again? He's gaining on Gasly, he nearly goes wheel to wheel into turn 1 with Gasly, but he can't quite manage it, but gets a great exit out of turn 1. He's got the inside line down into turn 2, but thinks against taking the inside line to try and make the move on that occasion. Now with DRS, he'll be hoping to get this move done before they hit the braking zone for turn 3, and Gasly tries to defend, but this time, by the time he tries to defend, Hamilton is alongside him, and as they head into the corner, Hamilton is ahead and up into 4th place. For Max Verstappen, he becomes the 6th different winner to take victory here on the streets in Azerbaijan's capital. It's Baku, and it's back to the top step of the podium for Max Verstappen, who wins the Azerbaijan Grand Prix on once again another perfect day and a very happy Sunday for Red Bull. His teammate Sergio Perez is going to come home to take 2nd place and the fastest lap point as well. It is maximum points for Red Bull. It's maximum victory for Max, a 66th podium in Formula 1, Red Bull's most successful driver in terms of podiums. It's Mercedes and Red Bull on the podium. Where were Ferrari? Hydraulics issue, power unit failure, destroying their Sunday hopes. It's been another bad day for the Scuderia. It's been another perfect day for Red Bull. They win, they take 2nd, and maximum points in Baku.
And another race that Max Verstappen got gifted. I keep saying it. It's happened since the title last year. It's happened in Spain this year. It's happened in Azerbaijan this year as well. It just keeps on continuing. And, yes, I thought I'd get a rise out of you, my friend.
Max never had a race gifted to him last year. It was well and truly earned.
Oh, please. The gift was Michael Massey, but that's another story. We're past that.
The gift to the sport of Formula 1 was Michael Massey.
Yeah. Well, actually, yeah. I'm open to debate on that. I am, legitimately. So top 10 results for that race was Max Verstappen 1st, followed by Sergio Perez 2nd, George Russell in 3rd, again finishing ahead of Lewis Hamilton in 4th, Pierre Gasly in 5th, Sebastian Vettel in 6th, Fernando Alonso in 7th, Daniel Ricciardo in 8th, Lando Norris in 9th, and Esteban Ocon in 10th. That race promised a lot. It really did promise a lot, and then it semi-fizzer.
Yeah.
I reckon the race was from third all the way down was a highlight.
Yeah, you would expect Azerbaijan to have a few more incidents, a bit more chaotic like the Formula 2 race, but nothing sort of eventuated. I was expecting a little bit more too. So a bit of a disappointing one when you look back at recent years of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, but we got what we got, and like you said, another win for Max.
Let's see what the drivers had to say about the event.
Yeah, pace was really good. First of all, the start already was very good, but I got boxed in, so I couldn't do anything. But then after that, already I think you could see I was constantly in the DRS of Charles, so the pace was very good. Just had to look after my tyres initially, and then once I was in clean air, I could close up to Checo and pass him into turn 1.
Well, not entirely pleased, It was some miscommunication that really cost us the victories today, because I think if we were to pit under the virtual safety car, things would have been a lot simple. And yeah, unfortunately we didn't, and it cost us. It was quite costly in the end.
It's always a team effort. We've got to be there at the end as a team, keep out of the walls, reliable car, and from that aspect we ticked all the boxes. Obviously we would have loved to have been a bit more in the fight. We probably weren't as far away as we expected, to be honest. We were probably a little bit quicker than we anticipated, especially compared to the midfield. So silver lining, but obviously what to do.
It's the worst race ever. Probably the most painful race that I've experienced, and the toughest battle with a car I've ever experienced as well. I don't know what to expect in these next races, but we've got to start making improvements.
At the end of the day, we know if we're in a position to fight with Mercedes, it means we're doing our job right, and I'm really pleased for the whole team to get these good points and probably kick off our season.
I think I was already past Esteban, but then a bit late because I was sure he's going to battle for it, but and then I wasn't quite sure, so I took the emergency lane and lost a lot of time. Without that time, I think we could have had a battle for P5 on our hands.
I think we maximize our strengths today, and let's see in Canada if we can find a little bit more performance, because with 2 or 3 tenths I think we can make really a huge step forward.
I think as a team, 8th and 9th was our pace today, and whether it was me or Orlando, I think it ultimately didn't change too much. So happy to be back, get a few points, learn some more about the car, so we leave here better off than 2 weeks ago.
I could have finished 8th if I was a bit more of a rebel, but I accept what we did as a team. I think what we did today was strong. Our aim was to be in the points with both cars, and that's exactly what we did, so I'm happy with that.
Not the best pace in the race, pretty slow. We're looking a bit more in the mirrors than attacking in front, so we score with both cars, so that's the positive, of course, but as I said, not the easiest race, and I look forward to turn things around in Canada.
It was a bit of a struggle all through the race, and for me the big issue today was lack of rear end, just lacking grip. Bit strange.
We were a little bit unlucky with the timing of the VSC. I think a lot of people pit during that moment, so we just missed out to be near that group in front. But actually speaking, we were quick, and I'm really happy.
Until the issue, reliability issue was good race. Full control, the tire was good. Tires condition was good. Just the simple reliability issue. If I didn't have those things, it was easily be able to beat P6 Shane.
Okay, I think we didn't have one safety car, no red flag either. I mean, I think I was betting on 3 safety cars and 1 red flag at least, but it didn't happen. So obviously we did our maximum, and the pace was just not there.
Yeah, it was tricky. I mean, you're so far off the patch from the pack, and then you get into the blue flag and getting in with the leaders very quickly soon into the race, and it's just a race to forget. Nothing more to say.
Frustrating in terms of the car that Seb's got, shows that you guys have got good pace here. So missed opportunity maybe.
Yeah, if you look at where he is and where we are, for sure it was a pretty bad weekend, but looking forward to Canada.
We were in a position to score points in Monaco, then had a power unit issue. Then today again we were in a position to score points, so I'm not really worried about performance. I'm just more worried about reliability.
I didn't put a foot wrong in our race, and climbing up the field comfortably to get behind Vettel and fighting for further position in the point. So when I heard that, it's pretty unexpected, and I couldn't really believe it because it happens too many times this year already.
I don't really have the words, to be honest. I came straight from the car to here, and it's just a huge disappointment, and I just hope we can jump back from it and to be on top of those things.
So far, the 2022 season has decided to go this way.
Yes, and with Leclerc and Carlos ending on that note, brings tears to my eyes. And with that, because of such a poor result and giving a bigger championship lead to Max, we will dissect this information shortly after we come back from a break. So you're listening to Negative Camber, the motorsport show on Radio Italai Uno, 87.6 FM.
Have you heard of podcasts? Podcasts are like having a personal radio station that people can listen to on demand about topics they are interested in. And now, thanks to Podcast City, you can record your own podcast and have your own on-demand radio show. You can use our professional recording equipment at the studios of Radio Italai Uno, or Podcast City can come to your location with our mobile studio. Podcast City can just record your audio or work with you to plan, record, edit, and distribute your podcast to your audience. If you would like to find out more and receive a free podcast startup checklist or book a time to record your podcast, call Radio Italai Uno on 821-23177 or go to podcastcity.com.au. Podcast City. Podcasting the easy way.
G'day, I'm Bevo.
And I'm Downtown.
And tune in Wednesdays from 7 to 8 p.m.
for the number one NBL1 Central basketball show you'll ever tune into. We are the Hoopsters.
That's right, Downtown, 87.6 FM, Radio Italai Uno. Tune in 7 to 8 Wednesdays.
Radio Italia Uno.
You're listening to Negative Camber with Jamie and Leigh on Radio Italia Uno, 87.6 FM.
Welcome back to Negative Camber, the motorsport show, proudly supporting the Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide. We have just heard the drivers and obviously the race review of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, which was held last weekend. And now we come to dissecting the entire race. One of the key talking points, or one of the major talking points, was the performance of Mercedes. And Mercedes came out saying that they were in a world of hurt, and they probably did push the envelope in regards to setup as well as performance. So, they've been quite vocal and quite open and honest enough to say that both drivers have been very experimental in terms of their setup. Lewis putting his hand up to be the sacrificial lamb, so to speak. But some people said it was sensationalised to Hollywood eyes, but I don't know, man. That looked too painful for me to get out of a car like that. That was hard yakka.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard yakka, but he's getting paid how many millions of dollars a year? You can't just have it as easy as it comes. And to me, it's pretty simple. They're the ones that are having the worst problem with it, and they don't want to raise the ride height of their car, which would fix a lot of it. So they're doing it to themselves. They know the sacrifice that if they do raise the car, it's going to rob their performance. So they obviously don't want to rob the performance of the car, so they're putting their own drivers at risk, really. It's not about the technical regulations of the FIA. It's not about the technical regulations of the car. They're the team that are having it the worst. You know, Pierre Gasly's maybe one of the only other ones that's been super vocal about it. But, you know, yeah, they've obviously introduced this technical directive in Canada, which I think is a little bit unfair to the teams that have got on top of the porpoising and the bouncing issues. It can change severely what the cars are behaving like, and I'd be pretty peed off if I was someone like a Red Bull or a Ferrari, and the FIA can manage to measure the technical regulation that they're putting in, and it makes their cars worse, and Mercedes is better. So, you know, everyone else is playing in the rules. Just raise your ride height.
Yeah, it's I'd love to know how much lower that Mercedes are running their car in comparison to a Red Bull. I know Karun Chandok had Toto Wolff after the race looking at the footage of going through turn 3 at Baku, and the Mercedes was visibly just bouncing up and down, going around the corner, whereas the Red Bull there was a little bit of bounce in it, as you would expect in a street circuit, but nowhere near as pronounced. It was chalk and cheese, really.
You also got to think, that's not necessarily just a ride height setting. Like, for example, if it's 2 centimetres of ride height clearance, it's how much downforce is being put onto the car as well. So they've got there's 2 things that they're combating, is that the ride height is too low for when the amount of downforce goes on the car, it pushes down. If everyone's running 2 centimetres of ride height and it's an even ride height, maybe the Red Bull's not got as much aero efficiency and it's not pushing down as much in the straights, which is then going to make it not bounce as hard because it's not rebounding off of those extremities of the suspension as much as the Mercedes is. So, yeah, I mean, look, I don't know the setup without having setup sheets sitting in front of me. I couldn't tell you exactly who's running what. Maybe they are running lower. Who knows? But I would say it's more about the aero efficiency, and they've got a lot of downforce.
Yeah, I know. For a car that looked at the beginning of the season, for a car that looked so good visually, and the Mercedes is certainly one of the more attractive cars out there. How many times do you see it in Formula One that the most attractive-looking car turns out to be the worst?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, God. I still remember the F90. Remember the F92A Ferrari back in 92 with the droplet radiator?
Negative.
Negative?
Negative.
Okay. Do yourself a favour.
I was 4 then, so my memory strains to remember much more than playing video games on the computer back then.
Us old timers were around to see the car of such beauty, but it was probably one of the most beautiful Ferrari Formula One cars of that decade, and it was a pig.
Yeah.
There was probably 2 or 3 cars like that of that era that looked sensational but so poor.
Yeah.
You see it time and time again. So every time you see a really good looking car on an F1 grid,
write it off.
Write it off.
Yeah.
Straight away. Speaking of Ferrari, 75 points lost in 3 races. They're probably lucky to finish a race at the moment. I can't even go to watch a race now with any sort of assurance or guarantee that we're actually going to finish.
Yeah, and look, it's something that they need to get on top of immediately. We've seen, Charles this weekend is taking some engine penalties. They're trying to get some more power units into the pool. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt later in the year, and we're only in round 8 or 9 of a 23 round series championship, and they're already taking their engine penalties. So yeah, it's not something that's an easy fix for them. They've got to get on top of it pretty quickly. A double retirement again is not what the doctor ordered, that's for sure. But like we touched on earlier, and Mattia Bonotto said he'd rather have a fast, unreliable car than a car that's slow and reliable. And I'd have to agree with him. I think it's probably easier to fix performance issues with the mechanical side of things than it is to fix the performance issues with the car, as we're seeing with Mercedes. Mercedes have arguably got probably the best engine package, the best overall package, but they can't put it to the ground. Whereas Ferrari have got just a real strong engine, but it wants to detonate itself. And we've seen that as well with all of their customer teams. It was something like 4 out of the 6 Ferrari powered cars didn't finish at Azerbaijan. So they've got some work to do. Like I said, they've taken some engine penalties here for Canada tonight or tomorrow morning for us, and we'll see how that holds them instead. Red Bull will definitely have to take some after their first couple of rounds with Max and Checo. So that's still definitely to come for them, but Ferrari a bit earlier.
Yeah, they've got as you were saying before, it's affected a majority of the Ferrari engine cars in some way, shape or form, and it probably started even before. It hit the Alphas first, and then it went to Ferrari, and also affected Haas at the same point as well. I think I was going to say, when I was watching Azerbaijan, and I'm thinking, Carlos is actually one of the only drivers that hasn't actually had an engine issue yet, and then 2 laps later...
So you're the voodoo then.
Yeah.
You're the voodoo. How did it go?
Okay. Literally how it went.
I'll keep an eye out for that, or ear out for that one next time.
I'm not going to go into my Spanish right now.
Your hearing senses have become so much more refined. You've mimicked that perfectly since your eyes have gone.
Well, have you seen how small my ears are? Yeah. God gave me big eyes and small ears, and they're all useless.
Exactly.
So
they've got their work to do. Like you said, they've dropped a whole bunch of championship points. What was about a molehill is starting to become a mountain pretty quickly that they've got to recover from. It's starting to get out of hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Your thoughts on Lando Norris, Daniel Ricciardo, and McLaren?
Yeah, look, it was a stronger race. I think what happened was, between Norris and Ricciardo was quite fair. Norris had the pace late in the race and was asked to sort of, hold off from attacking Daniel, and the rebuttal was, but why? Well, Ricciardo actually had far superior pace on the hards early on, and he was asked to do the same thing. So as long as it's tit for tat and each driver's benefiting and not benefiting in the same way, unless there's a clear advantage wide, then I don't think they should be doing the swaps. But it was good from Ricciardo to be able to at least match for the majority of the race, and the parts where he probably didn't match Norris, he was quicker than him. So yeah, it would have been interesting and nice to see if Norris had let Ricciardo go early in the race, if he could have made some more ground up on Alonso and the cars in front of him, because I think he had the outright pace on those guys, and I think that would have played him into a stronger strategy later in the race. But yeah, like I said, that's probably Monaco was a good step in the right direction for Ricciardo. Azerbaijan, again, step in the right direction of a lot closer, and then come to Canada, and I think out of the sessions so far, the 3 practice sessions, he's been on top for 2 of them, or it's been very close, within 10th. So fingers crossed it's trending. 3 completely different tracks, like I said earlier, and Ricciardo's matched or been better than Norris. So fingers crossed it's going back to being a bit more even.
Yeah, I think McLaren left Danny Rick a little bit high and dry, especially in the first part of the race, where he questioned why they told him to hold station behind Lando. And then he openly said, look, I'm going to be under attack by Gasly. And then sure enough, bang, away you go. But then I thought Lando's attitude towards the end of the race was pretty petulant. I thought, mate, come on. Toe the line. What's fair is fair. Don't question it. Just do it.
Yeah.
But it was more the tonality and the attitude. It's like, little boy, sass, please, save it for out of the trap.
Yeah, and I said to Shay only last night, I think it was, we were watching one of the interviews of Lando in some of the pre-event stuff, and I just got the sense that his attitude's changed. I used to like Lando quite a bit, and he was jovial. He paid attention. He answered the questions. He had time. It was like he showed that he had time to invest in the interviews, and especially the one that I seen last night. Or he just seemed distant. He seemed like he could give 2 craps if he was there or not, and didn't really want to be, like, he'd become too big for the interview. So yeah,
he's found love. That's what it is.
Yeah, I think I somewhat agree with you in that sense. But yeah, if you are battling for first and second, it was 2 rounds to go in the championship, and it had a big swing in someone else's favour if Norris didn't pass Ricciardo. Probably understand Norris being a bit upset, but you're battling for 9th and 10th. You're nowhere in the Constructors' Championship. Whose event does it actually change?
Yeah, exactly. And before we go to a break, I suppose I've got this to say with Lando as well, is that understand that Ricciardo is the one that's got the victory out of the 2 of you over the last 3 years. I mean, Lando's got some podiums and he's got a couple of front rows, but outside of that, that's all he's achieved. And the race that he had the opportunity to win, he binned it. So, you know what, man? Take it down a couple of steps. You're a damn good driver, Just because you sat next to Leigh at Miami and you got all big-headed and all that sort of stuff.
My driver's briefing, it rubbed off on him.
I'm telling you, man. But you're humble most of the time.
Most of the time.
We're off to a break on that note. And then when we come back, I think we'll continue the analysis and also cover some MotoGP as well.
Buonasera Restaurant, a family-operated business that has been welcoming customers for over 50 years. Spoil yourself to the finest Italian cuisine with impeccable service from Larry and the team. Complement your meal with a magnificent wine from their impressive selection. Famous for their boglietti, their handmade pasta with crab and prawns, their tripe, ossobuco, and local calamari. And then there's their specialty, the veal cooked to your liking. Buonasera Restaurant 295 Glen Osmond Road, Glenunga. Call 8379 5647 to book.
Radio Italia Uno vi invita a partecipare numerosi all'apertura di Radioton che si terrà sabato 23 luglio presso il Molinara Social Sport Club a 58 Lions Road, Windsor Garden. Il costo del biglietto d'ingresso è di $55 a persona e include una cena di 3 portate più dolce e caffè. Le bevande sono ottenibili al bar. In programma anche uno spettacolo dal vivo. Inoltre potrete incontrare i presentatori di Radio Italia 1.
I biglietti si possono acquistare telefonando alla segreteria di Radio Italia 1 all'8212 3177, al Molinara Club all'82614618 oppure qualsiasi membro del comitato. Radioton di Radio Italia 1 avrà inizio sabato sera 23 luglio al Molinara Social Sport Club a Windsor Garden. Non mancate, vi aspettiamo.
Continuate a sostenere Radio Italia 1, la vostra radio del cuore.
Radio Italia 1.
Radio Italia 1.
Scarica la nostra app aggiornata sul telefonino o tablet.
Radio Italia 1, sempre di più.
Seguici anche sulla nostra pagina Facebook ed Instagram.
From the fields up north
to the ocean's west.
We comb the land for the food that's best.
Taste buds to tickle, a whole state to feed.
Homegrown goodness, that's what we need.
Everyday low prices, any time of year. Here you go.
Thanks. Trust the mighty South Aussies.
Great food lives here. Foodland, the mighty South Aussies, yeah.
This week's specials at Foodland. Men's fruit chocks, 150 grams. Chock full of value, just $2.50. Campbell's Real Stock, 1 litre. A really good deal, only $2. And Campbell's Country Ladle with bone broth soup, 505 grams. A super special, also $2. All half price. Till June 21st, while stocks last.
Great food lives here. Foodland, the mighty South Aussies, yeah.
Radio Italia Uno.
You're listening to Negative Camber with Jamie and Leigh on Radio Italia Uno 87.6 FM.
Welcome back to Negative Camber, the motorsport show, proudly supporting Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide. Leigh and I will continue to put clarity on the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Yes, we are still rolling with the eye jokes and vision problems, etc. as well. Aston Martin on the way up.
Yeah, I mean, I would say again, definitely for Vettel, not so much for Stroll.
Lance is having a shocker.
Yeah, that could be expected. But Vettel had serious pace. He obviously had an off late, midway through the race and lost a whole chunk of time, but recovered to come back 6th. He probably had the pace to be, sort of 5th-ish.
Yeah.
Him and Gasly probably would have had a good fight towards the end. But yeah, it's super, super strong race from Vettel, and that form sort of carried over into Canada on the Friday.
Qualifying aside.
Qualifying sort of when it got real wet and tricky, it all blew up in his face.
Yeah, from the highlights that I'd seen of qualifying overnight, it was more set up. He complained on the in-lap that he had no feeling whatsoever in the car. But I don't know whether practice 3 was actually in the dry or it was wet the whole day. So, I've got to look into that a little bit more.
It was pretty wet in practice 3 as well, so I'm just trying to regain my memory from 2:30 this morning watching it. It was pretty torrential.
I was up to my eyeballs in sleep.
Yeah,
so
I got woken up by the dog that we're babysitting, Shay's mum's dog, and took it outside for what I thought was going to be a quick bathroom break and ended up chasing her around the backyard for 30 minutes. So from 2:15 this morning to 2:45, I was trying to coax this little puppy inside with all means necessary that I could try and find. Couldn't. It was being quite the difficult task, and then I was like,
how did you get the gig to go out there and do it?
Well, as if you think Shay's going to wake up. She's out like a light. She was too busy cutting down forests, Like, I'm going to go to...
She's giving you the chainsaw massacre, was she?
Yeah, well, she doesn't know this yet, but her Christmas present this year is a steel voucher so she can get the chain sharpened on the chainsaw.
I love it. Oh, give me that ammunition. Give me that ammunition. AlphaTauri. Mate, what did Fernando hit in a straight line? Like 350 kilometres an hour or something like that?
We're talking AlphaTauri or Alpine?
Oh, Alpine, sorry.
Come on, mate, open your eyes.
I actually wrote AlphaTauri, but because Gasly actually had quite a good race as well.
Yeah, so Alonso and Ocon, Alpine team, definitely favoured keeping it going fast in a straight line. You know, the opening sector of the track and that last burst down to the main straight, super, super fast and flowing. So there probably wasn't as many overtakes in that midfield pack as you would have expected. Basically, once Ocon and Alonso opened their DRS, they were just too fast and other cars couldn't get anywhere near them. So that sort of is what played into helping hold Norris and Ricciardo up when they did. They just couldn't get close enough on the straights. You know, it was two polar opposites. McLaren was so fast through the tight twisty stuff, but then the Alpines just had all that straight line advantage. So sort of like the struggle I faced today. I had plenty of corner grip, but those light drivers just pulled away from me on the straights that little bit more in the mid-range, and you just can't do anything with it. So, yeah, they did well with it, though. You know, Alonso coming in 7th and Ocon sneaking into the top 10, so a good result for Alpine.
They engineered that beautifully, I've got to say. That just the thought process behind it, it's like, well, okay, we'll try and beat us in a straight line then, boys.
Yeah.
We'll just lift our wing up and away we go.
Off you go, exactly right. And yeah, something like 343 Ks down the front straight, that's moving.
Absolutely. What did you think of AlphaTauri Bush mechanics on Yuki
Love
Tsunoda
that.
there?
If race tape can't fix it, nothing can, honestly. The only thing that would have made that more sweet is if they'd brought out a couple of cable ties.
I thought of your biscuit straight away, I've got to say. First thing I see, I'm like, wow, all that technology and you come out with Bush mechanics like that.
Hey, man,
they must have watched the V8 supercars.
Or they've been down to Paraka and watched me repair go-karts before. That's probably where they learned it from.
Actually, you know, funnily enough, I reckon it's been 12 months since we had that famous race in the wet and you had to hook my rear bumper up with fishing wire or something like that.
Yeah, fishing wire and cable ties,
yeah.
Well, you got to do what you got to do, and they didn't have time to come in and put a rear wing on it, so you just throw some gaffer tape on there and off you go.
I found those pins the other day too, the bent pins and all that sort of stuff in my toolkit when I couldn't see things. But yes, anyway. But overall, all it's done is it's just massively swung the championship in Max Verstappen's favour.
Yeah, absolutely, and he put on a very mature drive. Knew he didn't qualify the best, but put his head down when it mattered in the race and showed his true pace. Like I said before, doesn't seem to have that ultimate pace in qualifying, struggling with the front end of the car, but. One of the races where he was more calm on the radio, didn't really hear too much from him. Bit of a quiet race, and nothing more really said. But I'm super impressed with Russell as well. Only driver to finish inside the top 5 every race this year. Again, there to pick up the pieces for Mercedes and get another podium when the wheels fall off the other bus. So yeah, like I said, Russell's been the points getter for Mercedes, and is really showing just how good a driver he is.
Very, very talented, and you give credit where credit is due. In terms of his consistency, he's been very, very good. So, look, I think he's probably set the tone for the majority of the year, to be honest with you. So I can't see that changing too much, unless Mercedes do something quite radical with the car that'll swing the favourite in favour of Lewis. But then Lewis jags 4th position overnight.
Again, yeah, Russell's going to be there or thereabouts in the race as well. So, yeah, it should be okay. He'll come on good.
Let's go from 4 wheels to 2, and we will review the Catalonian Grand Prix for the Motogp. Here are some of the top highlights.
Green flag waves at the back, and the MotoGP race here in Catalonia is go. It's a great launch from pole position by Aprilia's Aleix Espargaro. He made the dream start as he clicks through to top gear on the run down to the first corner. Fabio Quartararo likewise has got all the way through on Pecco Bagnaia.
Look at the start that Joan Mir has made. He started 17th on the grid. He's already up to 7th.
This is a really good battle here between Mir and Marini. That's involving, 5th place, cracking ride by Joan Mir. An unlikely 4th coming from 17th place.
Martin's already really suffering in this Grand Prix. We're only on lap 11 of 24. We're coming up towards half distance, but for the second consecutive lap, Martin was way down in the 141s. A 141.367. His teammate Johan Zarco is flying though. He's 7/10 a lap faster. Zarco was actually the fastest rider on track, and Johan Zarco was second here last year. He's back on the podium in third position. What a result for Johan Zarco. His first podium since he was second to Quartararo in Portimao.
Martin gets up the inside of Aleix Espargaro in the braking zone for the first corner, using some of that famous Ducati power down the main straight.
Aleix Espargaro's up the inside of it.
Aleix Espargaro then does finally make his move. Is it too little too late to win his home Grand Prix here in Barcelona? Can Jorge Martin? He's got alongside Aleix Espargaro in the braking zone. We're on board with the Aprilia man. Perfect timing. Has Jorge Martin made it stick? He certainly has. They flick it left and through turn 3. Jorge Martin will take second place.
Jorge Martin, his second podium of the season.
Aleix Espargaro's got a problem. Can you believe this on the last lap? Aleix Espargaro is withdrawing from this Barcelona Grand Prix. On the last lap, he got his hand up. We just saw there, Jorge Martin came through on him down the main straight.
Where's he got his thumb up?
Does he think the race is finished? I think he thinks it's over. Oh my goodness, can you believe it? What a howler by Aleix Espargaro. We thought it was a mechanical. He thought the race was over. He's made an incredible miscalculation. Aleix Espargaro thought his home Grand Prix was over. Aleix Espargaro. Unbelievable scenes here in Barcelona. Aleix Espargaro, he comes over the line and takes the checkered flag in 5th place. Ends in embarrassment, really. Red-faced for the Aprilia man. He can't believe it.
But that's cost him 9 World Championship points. There's the reception from the team. Given what Aleix Espargaro has done for that team, they will surely forgive that. Aleix Espargaro, a sympathetic round of applause for him at his home Grand Prix. It's turned into a nightmare. He doesn't want to speak to anyone. Inconsolable Aleix Espargaro. Fabio Quartararo is absolutely untouchable.
Class this from Quartararo. He just got himself back into the 140s. This is brilliant by Fabio Quartararo. He's now nearly 4 seconds clear. Quartararo conquers the Catalan Grand Prix. A truly dominant performance by the reigning world champion. A stunning performance, a dominant performance by this young man. 23-year-old Frenchman Fabio Quartararo does make it into double figures in terms of MotoGP victories. 25 points. He was on a different level in that Grand Prix.
Fantastic race it was, actually, I must confess. Loved me some MotoGP. Loved to see my boy, one of my two boys, Jorge Martin, come back and actually show some form, which has been great. Another one of my boys, Joan Mir, with a fantastic ride from near the back of the grid up to 4th. But punctuated by Pecco Bagnaia being taken out at the start of the race with a, when you saw the slow-mo, a pretty horrifying accident between him, Taka Nakagami, and Alex Rins.
Yeah, pretty crazy crash. Nakagami just in a little bit too hot and losing the front end of the bike, and unfortunately, once off a start, everyone concertinaing into turn 1. You're a passenger and you're just hoping for the best, and unfortunately, it was quite a scary crash. I think Rins has come out of it probably worse off out of everybody with a broken collarbone or some sort of arm or something.
Shattered his wrist.
There you go, shattered his wrist.
Both bones in his wrist.
So, yeah, quite a nasty one. It didn't look that nasty for him, particularly. Like you would have thought Bagnaia or Nakagami would have been the one that would have got injured out of that. But, yeah, Rins had a pretty decent high side.
He still fronted up this weekend at Sachsenring and did the opening 2 practice sessions, and at one point was the 3rd fastest rider, but the pain was that much. He withdrew just before qualifying last night. So you give credit where credit is due. I mean, at the end of the day, he's not in contention for the championship, and Suzuki aren't going to be there at the end of the year. But he actually wanted to make sure he was fit for Assen, which is next week.
Yeah.
So, that was... but if anyone ever doubts the competency of a MotoGP helmet or a top-line helmet, have a look at how Taka Nakagami's head has actually hit the rear end of Pecco Bagnaia's square on, bang, visor first into that rear tyre at full speed. and he still lives to tell the tale. It's phenomenal. But thankfully he's okay.
One thing, if I was to give any advice to someone starting out in motorsport, is that the only thing you should not cheap out on is the helmet, and make sure that you get something that is not your $200 cheapo off the shelf, off the bottom shelf. If you're going to spend the money, you spend the money on a proper helmet, because at the end of the day, it's the only thing that protects your brain bracket. And I like to do the old squeeze test. So you go to any of the cheap helmets and get each side of the helmet between the palm of your hands and give it a squeeze. And if it pushes in, you imagine your head in there like a watermelon, and it's gonna pop its top too. So you want a helmet that's nice and sturdy. So the helmet's design and concept has come a long way, and especially Formula One helmets as well, and Motogp helmets, they're up there and in terms of safety for sure. Yeah,
well said. Couldn't agree with you more. Red Bull KTM confirmed they've got the services of Jack Miller for the next 2 years, which was not really surprising. I think Bagnaia is and possibly a toss-up between Bastianini and Martin going for that second spot in Ducati for next year. Yeah,
and it keeps Jack on a factory bike, which is what he wants. He's got the long relationship with that team as well after racing with them for so long in Moto 3. With the satellite team with Remy Gardner in there as well, that'll form a pretty good little relationship there, where they can learn off of each other, I suppose, but more so Remy learn off of Jack. Should be a good fit for Jack. The KTM bike has looked strong this season at particular races as well, so bringing some of that Ducati knowledge and MotoGP background back into that KTM squad should be a good boost for them, and it should be the right fit for Jack.
Word around the street is that Joan Mir potentially teammate to Marc Marquez next year in the Honda.
Yeah, I mean, Marc Marquez has got to get himself fit too. We know that he's just gone out on a leave of absence, basically, to have some more surgery, trying to get fit for next year. So that sort of leaves the door open. If he's not feeling fit on the bike, I don't see him staying around for much longer as well. So Honda could find themselves in a bit of a world of pain with no riders. Seeing what happens with Marquez later in the year,
they're in a world of hurt with that bike at the moment, though. That's an absolute pig of a thing to ride, and Marc Marquez you can guarantee that he'll bin the bike even when Honda was at its best.
Yeah.
But it's gotten to a point where he's almost guaranteed every session you'll find him somewhere picking the bike off the ground.
Well, they're lacking 12 months of his riding development as well. So he was out for a long time last year, and he's out again for a long time this year. So without no discredit to Pol Espargaro, who's his teammate, there's not the same level of talent there, and not the same level of knowledge to develop the bike.
Yeah. Ever run short one lap thinking that you've actually jagged a podium?
No, not that I can remember. But Aleix Espargaro has, and it hurts. It hurts for sure. I can only imagine home Grand Prix.
Yep.
That sinking feeling when he would have realised that, hang on, why is everyone else continuing on with this lap at race pace? That would have been a knot in your stomach that's hard to overcome.
Yeah, and what made it worse is that he had a commemorative helmet for the doctors that saved his daughter's life and all that sort of stuff as well. So it was a very, very meaningful race for him. But then he's also given away an extra 9 points in the championship, and he's probably Quartararo at the moment his biggest threat.
Yeah. So big mistake, but it's been done there before. And look, he won't be the last, that's for sure.
But it should be a good race tonight at the Saxon Ring. Hopefully we'll get there in time to watch the race, or whatever I can see of it.
Yeah.
So, it should be... and now that Marquez is not there, it will actually open the race right up.
Yeah, someone new is going to win the race for the first time in 8 years or something like that. So it will be Yeah, exactly. He's got the same record at Austin as well. So, let's see who comes out on top. Jack has been fast, didn't really put it together in qualifying, but fingers crossed he can make some moves in the race.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be off to a short break, and then when we come back, we will come back with a couple of our favourite segments to end the show in grinding gears and some jokes.
Estovest, a restaurant that offers traditional Italian food that Nonna would approve of. Famous for gnocchi and authentic Napolitana-style pizza. And every Thursday night, you can enjoy unlimited pizza for just $25. wonderful coffee and staff that make you feel special. Estovest, Shop 1, 111 Angus Street in the city. To book, visit their website estovest.com.au and click on Book Now. You'll feel like you're in Italy.
Sapevi che Podcast City può registrare il tuo podcast proprio qui, negli studi di Radio Italia 1, con un'attrezzatura professionale di registrazione?
Sì, ma Podcast City può anche venire direttamente da te con il suo studio mobile.
Possiamo registrare solo l'audio o lavorare con te pianificando, sviluppando e distribuendo il tuo podcast al tuo pubblico.
Se desideri saperne di più, ricevere un opuscolo informativo o prenotare un appuntamento per registrare, chiama Radio Italia 1 al numero 82123177 o vai su podcastcity.com.au.
Podcast City, podcasting in modo semplice.
Our independence is everything. Brazier Mobility has been creating independence for people for over 30 years. Brazier Mobility specialises in tailored vehicle solutions to keep you active, ensuring your vehicle modification suits your needs, offering you unlimited freedom. Brazier Mobility boasts a team of highly skilled technicians working in a state-of-the-art facility located here in South Australia. No compromises are made when it comes to client satisfaction. Call them for a friendly chat on 1800-BRAZIER or visit their website braziermobility.com.au. Brazier Mobility, creating independence.
Radio Italia Uno.
You're listening to Negative Camber with Jamie and Leigh on Radio Italia Uno 87.6 FM.
Welcome back to Negative Camber, the motorsports show, proudly supporting the Scuderia Ferrari Club Adelaide. We're in the last stint of the show. We hope you enjoyed it in my expense for the most part of the night. But now I open the stage over to Mr. Harrison to see what grinds his gears.
Now it's time for Grind My Gears with Jamie and Leigh.
Over to you, Rev Head Harold.
Yeah, so obviously being back at the track today for the first time in a long time, being in the action and keeping my eye over things a little bit more closely than I normally would. I saw with my two very healthy eyes a lot of first corner incidents, and it surprised me that there was not a more closely watched position being held at the end of the front straight, the first corner, on race starts. So it seems pretty obvious to me that, you know, that's the main point where there's a lot of karts going into the same spot at the same time, where after that particular start, first lap, it seems to spread out a bit more, but it just grinds my gears that there was not one, you know, volunteer official that's there for lap one of every race, casting an eye. I saw multiple sends and people being sent off the end of the straight through kart contact, quite heavy kart contact as well. And the onus was put on the drivers to make the protest, where then it becomes a he said, she said kind of swinging match. I think it's time just to sort of put someone there. I'm happy to put my hand up and be that person for first lap starts, obviously when I'm not got the suit on myself, but grind my gears a little bit today.
Which classes was that?
Let's not go into too much detail.
Oh, come on. I wasn't
every
there.
Class.
I wouldn't have seen anything.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe if you took your glasses off, you might. Let's just not narrow it down too much. Probably every class, yeah.
So incidents in four-stroke as well?
Yeah, incidents, four-stroke, tag, restricted, medium, tag, light, tag, restricted, light, medium, heavy, whatever. Yeah, everything. Everything.
For me, I know that everyone tries to make up as many positions as they can going into the first corner. Southern Go-Kart Club Turn 1 is notorious for being problematic. We've all binned it there at one point or another. Even Troy Losco's binned it. Right? At what point, and as silly as this may sound, because we're all racing drivers and they all want to get into the corner first, but at what point do you have a little bit of common sense just to say, cold day, track might not be grippy, going into the offline, especially it's those that are in right to the left of the track, right, because it's not the racing line, that where the problems are, right, because it's so easy to lock a rear and you lose the rear end and away you go.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't disagree at all. But funnily enough, it's the corner that no one sees. Yeah. So,
I think, So, and I agree with you. There's got to be a marshal there. And I know that the counter argument would be that they don't have enough volunteer marshals, which is true. But for that particular circuit, the problem, and if they're still looking to maintain the character of that corner for when they do the extension later on, then they're going to have to think seriously about putting a marshal post there or something of that nature into that track, because it's going to continue to happen, and it always will.
It's the nature of the sport. There's always going to be incidents there in turn one. It just needs to be a bit more adjudication over those incidents, I think.
Well, let's hope they listen to it, because they'll listen to you more than what they'll listen to me.
Well, maybe. We'll see.
I don't know. You're Harold. Like, it's Revhead Harold. Mr. FIA.
We'll see. We're running short on time here, and I know that you've been waiting for this moment.
Like you wouldn't believe.
It's time for your jokes.
Now it's time for Jamie's joke of the week. Let's get ready to laugh our socks off.
Now I get to laugh at everyone else in the room.
I don't know if you can read your jokes, though, so we're actually going to...
Probably not. All right. So someone actually just called my phone, sneezed, and then hung up. I'm getting really sick and tired of the cold calls. What was that? That was quite a funny laugh. That was actually good. All right. How do you eat a hard drive, Leigh?
I'm sure I'm about to find out.
One bite at a time.
Are they megabytes?
Yes. Maybe a terabyte as well. A bit of earth of that. I joined a dating site for arsonists the other week. I've been getting a lot of matches.
I thought it was going somewhere along the lines of, like Tinder as well, because that starts the fire. But
no, I'm very happily married. No, I'm very happily married. A bear walks into a bar and says to the bartender, 1 whiskey and 1 Coke. Why the big pause? Asked the bartender. I don't know, I was just born with them.
They got progressively worse. Is that it? Like, is that the end of those jokes?
That's it. There's more. I can give you more, but that's it. I'm crying. That's hilarious.
Dear. Was any of them courtesy of Intuit this week as well? I know you've been relying on John for a few.
I was sick this week. I was stressing about Intuit rather than... in all sincerity, man, I was not in a good place at the beginning of the week.
Well, that's all right.
Yeah, but no, that was my highlight of the week.
You've had plenty of time to search for jokes, and that's the best you could come up with this week.
Pretty much.
They left me scratching my head rather than laughing.
Oh, dear, oh, dear. Do you know how many times I listened to the end of our show from the last one?
I can only imagine. I have got no idea, but I could only imagine.
Especially when I've put the new ending on there. Did you hear that?
No.
Oh, okay. So what I've done is I've actually
I'm here. I don't need to go back home and hear the sound of my own voice and re-listen to it.
You actually learn how to perfect your craft when you listen to yourself.
You can't change perfection already.
Oh... Thaya, I know you're listening, love. Can you seriously sort this man out when you get home? Please.
Oh, you're fired. You called her love. You're done.
Actually, no, I'm in deep poo, aren't I?
You're done. Time to start looking for another job,
She doesn't return my call anyway. It doesn't matter. I'm still waiting for last week's call back, which was a panic. Like, what am I going to do? I got COVID. Oh, dear. I digress. No, I have the huge amount of respect for your wife.
She's lovely. Yep.
Yeah, she is. She is. Shade into it. Very, very good. But alas, mate, well done for this week. You've done, 300, 400 laps in about a week of go-karting? Something like that. Yeah. So that's not too bad. You'll sleep well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wake up next week.
My brain will be ticking, though, because I'll know what I want to change. So
Good. Because because come first week of July, mate, have a guess where you're at.
Punado, yep.
No, me. At Southern Go-Kart. If I can actually... Well, I'm going to get the DR out and give it a crack. It's been a while. I haven't touched it since...
When you can see again.
Yeah, exactly. Biscuits and Kayla. So, alas, ladies and gents and gentlefolk, that is the end of our show for another fortnight. We will be back in a couple of weeks' time with more in-jokes and mannerisms and maybe a new set of eyes. We'll see how we go. But we hope you enjoyed the show. Good night, everyone, and stay safe. See you in a fortnight's time.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.